How are you guys all doing tonight? You guys having a good time? Raise your hand if you're having a good time tonight, if you're glad you came out. Yeah, woo! Looks like things are going well. People are doing deals. Got some repeats, got some new people coming for the first time. Excited to see it. Got a great presentation for you guys tonight. I'm pretty excited about it. Just put it together, but it's breaking news. We just got it done last week, so excited to tell you guys about this latest deal that we did. Biggest deal I've ever done, to be honest, so far. And I think you guys will get a lot of knowledge out of it, a lot of inspiration, and we'll get into it. All right, guys, cool. So we'll get started here, guys. I just want to give a quick shout out before we get into our sponsors. First off, if you guys need any kind of fix and flip funding, Rex Rodenbaugh, KC Investor Funding will get you taken care of. Pretty competitive rates, but first and foremost, why we used him and why we like him is because it's no appraisals, 1 week, 2 week closes, in-house underwriting, guys. You're talking with Rex. He's the decision maker on these loans. So if you need a surefire deal, we've used him, Samson's used him, I'm sure a lot of other people have used him, but you're gonna, he'll take you care of. If he can do the loan, if he says he will, he's gonna get it closed for sure. So if you guys need any kind of fix and flip funding to buy those good deals, I'll tell you guys, the good deals are the ones that you gotta close on usually pretty fast. So you need to have, if you don't have cash or something, you need to have that funding lined up. If you need to close those deals, I recommend RD Title and Exchange, guys. Davis Title, because, and I keep seeing files, he's like the title magician. Like literally we've had files where they have actually foreclosed. They have gone to foreclosure and been sold, and somehow they get taken out of foreclosure and then we get to close them. So it has happened a few times for me. So really good title company for getting your files closed, especially your off market, creative finance, anything like that. Kefreen will come up in a second. Kefreen of Elevate You, personal fitness coaching. He'll give a little spiel here in a second, but he can tell you all about himself. And then I want to give a shout out to Off Market Mastery Mentorship with Pat Grace and myself, Daniel Kohanowitz. I have a mentorship program. We're actually going to be relaunching that in early May. I'm partnering with Pat Grace, who I've had a couple times, guys. He is pretty legendary, been in the game for about 20 years, guys. Just done tons of basically everything. He's got like 200 rental units in Kansas City. We're going to actually be teaching you guys together on how we go out and find off-market deals primarily, because guys, finding the deal is the hardest part of this whole game, guys. We'll also teach you, how to do the flips and stuff like that, but honestly, if you can find a good deal, that's going to be 95% of the battle right there. So if you guys are interested in that, come talk to me after the event and we can see about getting you signed up for that program. But guys, very affordable, 0% risk on that deal, guys. If you are halfway serious about increasing your skill set with finding off-market deals like this presentation I'm about to get you guys, this was 100% off-market, as our, right now, basically almost 100% of the deals are direct to seller. If you don't have that skill, guys, you're stuck. 95% of the deals that I see, come across Facebook or emails are just, I don't know what kind of rocks the other wholesalers are smoking, when they send them to me, because none of them make sense, right? So being able to go out and find your own deals is absolutely critical if you want to build your rental portfolio, find flips, anything like that. So guys, before we get started, welcome Kefreen to the stage for a couple minutes. I used Kefreen here last year, and we worked together to help improve my fitness, working out, diet, all that good stuff, guys, because your physical fitness is what's going to support ultimately your ability to execute in your business, guys. So Kefreen.
What up, y'all? So I'll be quick. First of all, it's Kefreen, but most people call me Kat, so I get why Kefreen. Yeah, Kefreen, pleasure to meet you all. And I'm gonna make it this short because I know you guys are here to learn about how to make more money, right? You don't care about the health stuff. It's like, why go to the gym? Like, let's make money, right? And I deal with a lot of that. And my whole philosophy is, each and every single one of you in this room is a multi-billion-dollar asset, right? Your body is. And so it's out of this body, it's out of this being that you produce the wealth that it takes to get to where you want to be, right? Each and every single one of you are here because you want to perform at your highest level. Well, wouldn't you want to equip your body, the machine, the vehicle that helps you produce that to be the best that it can be, right? And the analogy that I'll give you guys is, if we are vehicles, then it's like, and you're on the highway and you have this goal, would you rather be the guy that's driving the Camry or a Porsche, right? Who will get there faster, okay? And so if you're really about taking yourself to the next level and really becoming the best version of yourself, financially, physically, but also mentally, then come talk to me, we can talk and make something happen. Enjoy your night. It's your friend. Have a good night. All.
Thank you. All right, guys, let's get right into it, guys. So this presentation, how I flipped an apartment complex and made $450,000 cash an over 3x return on my money in just 8 months without any prior experience in apartment investing or a rent uncle to help me at just 24 years old, and how you can do the same. Guys, I encourage you to take notes. There's going to be a lot of really juicy nuggets here, as well as some details, like the real numbers on this deal. So it may be a little bit hard to keep track of in your head. So if you have a phone, notepad, I encourage you guys to take notes. It's going to help you retain this information, because I 100%, there's a lot of these deals out there, guys, and you need to be ready when they come along. So if there's 3 takeaways, guys, just real quick, if you have to leave pretty soon, I'd leave you with this, guys. The big things from this is, and you'll see it throughout the presentation, but guys, focusing on the relationship, not the sale, guys, and that's with your sellers, with your partners, all that stuff, guys. It's not a transactional business. I'm going to be in this game for another, 50 years, guys, and when you have that, when you're thinking more than just a week ahead, and you really start to that long-term mindset, guys, it's kind of counterintuitive, because when you think like that and treat everyone as a relationship, like a friend, your business is going to get so much easier, and you're going to be able to get those deals you didn't think you could do. Also, guys, taking massive action and being able to do whatever it takes to get a deal done, guys. I mean, a lot of times, like in this deal, you'll hear me talk about a lot of the kind of insurmountable obstacles that we faced and some of the breaking points. And in those moments, you have to just be able to commit to taking whatever action it takes to get the deal done, guys. And that's, if you're not willing to do that, this probably isn't the business for you, because this is what it's going to take to get these hard ones done. And the last thing is, finding great deals, guys. You really do have to find a great deal. Do your due diligence, make sure it's a great deal, guys. I see a lot of people, they come to me with a deal on a daily basis, and I'm like, I take one look at it, I'm like, dude, this is a bad deal. Why are you wasting your time with this? But if you really find that good deal and knowing how to identify that good deal, you need to do everything in your power to get that good deal, guys, because good deals are like a diamond in the rough. So I'll get started with a little bit of an intro and then my backstory, guys. My name is Daniel Kohanowitz. At the age of 23, with no prior experience or specialized knowledge in commercial apartment investing, I embarked with my friends and my business partner, Austin, on a journey that would not only reshape my financial future, but also challenge conventional wisdom about what's achievable at a young age. In just 8 months, we successfully flipped this apartment complex, making about $450,000 cash and realizing a 3-fold investment or return on our investment. This is a story of determination, strategic decision making, and it's a testament of just seizing the opportunities regardless of, your age or your background, guys, and using them to create substantial wealth for yourself. There were a lot of points where we wanted to give up in this, and we almost did a couple times, but we decided we faced things that were like we didn't know how we were gonna figure this deal out. Sometimes, guys, have you ever been in a deal where you committed to something and you didn't know how you were gonna figure it out or how you were gonna raise the money? Raise your hand if you've ever been in that situation. Almost everybody, So you guys know how it is. You got a good thing, but you don't know how you're going to follow through with it. So in this story, I'm going to take you through the steps I took to achieve this feat, absolutely step by step, breaking down the process into manageable and actionable insights that anyone with drive and ambition can follow. Whether you're a seasoned investor looking for new strategies or a novice just eager to learn about this world of real estate, this is going to serve as a roadmap for your success with this type of deal. So join me as I reveal the secrets behind my remarkable journey and discover how you too can flip an apartment complex and unlock incredible financial rewards. So guys, a little about myself, to give you a little bit backstory, if you guys don't know me at all or don't know my story, I didn't come from money or anything like that. I grew up in I'd probably middle class family. My dad was a business owner, but as I'm sure a lot of you know, just because he's a business owner doesn't mean that he really, makes a lot of money. In fact, we definitely, didn't ever go hungry, but we definitely struggled a lot as a kid, especially during the 2008 recession and stuff like that. And I think, living through that and seeing those struggles in my family, really ingrained in me just a deep-seated drive as I reflected to be a provider and just never, always put myself in a place of abundance. Working hard and creating these opportunities for yourself is very difficult, but in my opinion, being broke is even harder. So, from that, I've, been pushing every single day, try to, elevate myself and take advantage of all the gifts and opportunities God's given me. So, and that's where I came from, right? Grew up in the Northland and, worked with my dad and his business for a few years, worked W-2, guys, and then I started to get into investing. So 2 years in, I bought my first rental property. It's the house hack. I bought a duplex. I was renting a place and I bought that. I was able to move in, rented the other side, rented the rooms out, guys. I was making, pretty good income, almost $1,000 a month cash flow with me living there for free. And that was really where the light bulb, came off, where I was just like, oh my gosh, this is the best. I've got got to get more rental properties. I got to do more real estate deals. So I kept working my W-2 job, just saving my money, bought a few more rental properties. Then I got into, I got up to about, I don't know, I think 9 units or something, about a couple duplexes, a house, triplex. And then I got, hooked up with Austin. We actually grew up together, but didn't really connect. And then we got together and started flipping houses. He didn't know anything either. He was just a young, we were probably 21 at this time, 22. And I had some money saved up and he had some time. He was an agent. And so we just were like, hey, he found a deal off market, or it was actually an on-market deal. He found it and we were like, hey, let's flip this house. I think we can do well. And I was like, we just took the chance. I funded it, cash that I had saved up for myself just from working, really planting those seeds early on. And 1 turned into 2, 2 turned into 4, 5, 12. We did about a dozen our first year, and just one by one. We didn't have any formal partnership or anything. It was just deal by deal. That actually allowed me I made more money flipping houses part-time than I did at my job. And I had enough, rental income to where I was like, okay, I can probably make it for a little while, if I go full-time into house flipping and finding deals. So I kind of went at it the opposite way. I quit my job and I went full-time into flipping and wholesaling, right? A lot of people, they get into wholesaling and then flipping and then rentals. I kind of went at it rentals, then flipping, then wholesaling, right? And so from there, I've been, full-time in real estate for about 1.5 years now. Just totally focused on off-market deal acquisition, guys. Wholesaling, essentially just going direct to seller and getting leads, working with sellers. I've been on, at this point, probably hundreds of appointments, done literally thousands of cold calls. I've done possibly thousands of door knocks, definitely in the high hundreds. Just constant repetition, guys, and just a lot of grinding it out and figuring it out. Over 1 year ago, so about almost 18 months ago, I ran into a guy named Gabe. His name's Gabe Bowling. He's got a course now, but it was a chance encounter. He was actually a friend of a friend. We met him at an event, and he had a course on multifamily investing. And so I was like, he hadn't really released it, but he let me into it for free because he wanted me to demo it and critique it and stuff like that. So I learned the information very quickly. At this point, I flipped some houses. I'd done some off-market deals, kind of knew the gist, but I went into this multifamily, learned it very quickly, and then I implemented it. Right? I immediately started looking for this opportunity with multifamily, guys. I like multifamily, I like single family. We do a lot of single families, but one thing, that I think will set you apart is when you learn a new strategy, you instantly try, to implement it. If it works in your business, why not you just go ahead and start looking and implementing on that strategy? Because I think for a lot of us, it's not the information that we're lacking, it's acting on that information, guys, and taking action on that information. Does any of you feel like, raise your hand if you feel like you could probably act on some more of that information you already have? A lot of you guys, yeah. And I'm not perfect. Every day I feel like I'm slacking, but it just get 1% better every single day, over a long enough time period. If you just keep at it, you're gonna build a really, really great business. So from there, I took that course. I kind of had a knowledge of what I was looking for with an apartment building, and I was working with he's basically a bird dog, kind of a wholesaler, but he was more of a bird dog. He'd find a deal and he would just send it to me. Hey, I got this guy, why don't you talk to him? I'm like, okay. So he stumbles across, he's cold calling, and he calls this landlord, He's like, hey, this guy's got an apartment complex he's thinking about selling, and that was it. And I was like, okay, let me call him, right? And that's another thing, if somebody sends you a deal or a lead or whatever, I see a sign, you just want to call that guy immediately, right? There's no reason to wait around. You're going to forget, I promise. I forget all the time to call people, right? You need to jump on it. And whether they, for me at this point, it's whether they say they're interested or not, at least I can just push it down the road. If they say no, great, I can move on to something else. If they say yes, awesome, we can pursue that opportunity. So I called the guy up immediately. One thing I learned from the course and some other guys like multifamily strategy is with apartment owners, guys, you're dealing with very sophisticated people. They're well off, they know what they're doing, they're usually very seasoned, they've been in the game for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, right? They're not dummies. With these guys, it's not about this deal, right? It's about getting to know them. It's really about the relationship. As counterintuitive as it sounds, if you build a relationship, the deals will come, right? If they like you, they know you, they trust you, you guys get along. If they want to sell something, they're going to want to talk to you about it, because with multifamily, a lot of these guys, they trade off market. They don't want to take it on the market. It's a big hassle, spooks tenants. They would much rather, like anyone else, you'd much rather sell a deal to your friend than, to some random person if you can, right? So that's what we did with this guy. Called him up, talked to him. His name was Robert, and we got to talking. He's like, yeah, I got this deal. He's essentially a tired landlord. He had this apartment complex. He wanted to, basically sell it off and consolidate that income into a single commercial property, right? That was his goal. He just was tired of the termites, toilets, and tenants, and just wanted to simplify his portfolio, right? With that, what I did immediately is, and this is what you should do, is we got to talking. I liked the guy. We resonated together. I was like, I need to meet this guy, right? Like, I didn't even really bring up the deal much. I kind of, was like letting him talk about it. I was like, hey, let's meet. Like, I'd love to meet you. You sound like a really cool guy. Like, and genuinely, you do. Like some of these relationships, like literally, we met this investor off of a tenant, a landlord-tenant check. Like a tenant tried to apply for my unit. I called his landlord. And his name's Sean, this guy. He owns some apartments in Liberty and stuff. Like, this has been a 2-year relationship off of a tenant reference. He just took us out to his beach house in Los Angeles, and we talk all the time and hang out. And he just brings us out there because, we like each other, right? It's just like the friends that you'll meet along the way are really incredible. I was like, hey, when can I come and, have a coffee with you, right? And he's like, oh yeah, me and 5 other heavy investors in the town all meet at Panera Bread at 6 a.m. I'm like, okay, I'm there. Well, this town is Sedalia, Missouri, and Sedalia is an hour and a half away, right? So I'm getting up at 4 o'clock to go to this coffee meeting, but I'm like, no problem, I'm there. And that's what you got to do. That's what I'm saying. You got to be willing to do whatever it takes. Because I'm like, look, from this one conversation, not only do I know this guy, but I'm going to go meet 5 of the heaviest hitters in town. They're all buddies, right? Like, who knows what's going to happen, Like, the relationships could be incredible. So, of course, I get up, no problem. Go down there, talk to him. I said, I don't even mention the deal. I'm not even worried about it, right? We hang out, we talk, and we leave, and that was it, And then I'm like, when can I come back? So we meet every day. So 2 days later, I go down there again. Wake up at 4 a.m. and go down and meet this guy. And then it's just I don't know, I think I went down there 3 or 4 times. And then he finally is I'm just hanging out, getting to know him. He's like, okay, so you want to buy this apartment complex? I'm like, if you want to sell it, And so he's like, yeah, I do. Let's figure this out. I'm like, great. By this time, guys, this dude, we've talked so much, for hours, we're friends, at this point. I mean, still I could call the guy up, we'd talk. And that is going to make the difference between doing a deal with a random stranger you don't trust and doing a deal with somebody you would consider a friend. It's just night and day. This transaction really overall from a buyer to seller perspective was one of the easiest I've ever done. The guy was ultra transparent about the building and everything and what he wanted to do and all this stuff. Literally, we went and did the inspection. It was exactly like he described, And it was just so easy. It was just he had his expectations, we had ours, and it was just we were all very honest with each other and, very communicative. And it was easy, It was just you're calling up your buddy. Hey, we're going to do this and that. No problem. So anyway, what he had originally proposed, and he had this deal. So he's like, I want $950,000 for these 26 units. So write that down, guys. That's going to be important. So we go down there, and he's like, I want $950,000 for these 26 units. So if you're doing the math, that's $36,000 a door. All right, that's cheap. Okay, it doesn't matter where you are. 36 grand for mostly 2-bedroom apartments is really cheap, right? And it got even better than that initially. So initially, he wanted to, and you'll find this, is he wanted to do a creative finance. He actually wanted to do a creative finance as opposed to a traditional cash sale. And the reason for that is because he didn't have anything to put it into at the time. So if he was to sell it, he was going to get hit with 20+% tax hit on the entire sale. So he would have given, 200 grand to the government, right, off that sale, which nobody wants to give 200 grand to the government. And so he's like, well, why don't you guys buy it on a lease option, right? So, and we were like, that's great. We put 30K down because this building had a lot of, it was cash flowing as it sat, but to give you kind of a rundown on the numbers, and we'll go into this in more detail, but basically this thing was making about $400 per unit, okay, in rent, okay? And the market for this building was $800 a unit in rent, which, I'll go into kind of the baseline underwriting of most apartment deals, but that's $400 per unit will over double the value of the property, basically. And so there was massive upside on this deal, right? And that's why we liked it, because it was a good price going in, and there was huge upsides for us to flip it, right? We could increase the value of the property, and then either keep it and make a lot of money every month, or we could sell it and make, you know, a ton of money, right? And so that's why we pursued this, is because, hey, we got this guy, we have a good relationship. He wants a very reasonable number, you know, let's get after it. So he was initially going to lease option the property to us. We were basically going to pay him the same amount that he was already getting. Because the rents were so low, we were fine with that, because for him, it's like he's getting the same amount. He doesn't have any of the headaches. For us, you know, if we can double that value, we're going to make a ton of cash flow. We put very little money down. We don't have to go to the bank or anything like that. It sounded like a great deal. So we toyed around with that with him. We went it down and we actually went, and he wanted us to, so it kind of went a little backwards. And this is what I'm saying with the relationship, is like, he was like, hey, before we have any kind of sales contract, like, I want you guys to do all your due diligence up front, so that when we actually have a contract, you know, you guys are good to go, right? So we went and toured all the units, looked at everything, and it was just as he described, you know, like the units were okay. It was in decent shape. They needed updated, but like nothing major, very manageable. Not, you know, probably you're looking at about $10,000, maybe $7,000 to $10,000 per unit in renovation, which is for 26 units is, you know, I mean, it's like 250,000 or so, but like over that many units is not that much renovation, right? So we took a look at it. We were like, hey, we want to buy it. This is, like you said, we think that we can, and this is the numbers, you know, we're going to buy it for $950. We're going to put about $250,000 into it. It'll be worth, once we increase those rents and lower those costs, it's going to be worth probably about $2 million. Okay. Just rough and dirty, like from a house flip, you know, we're trying to be all in, purchase and rehab into a house for about 70% of the after repair value, right? So if a house is $100,000, we want to be all into it for $70,000. Well, if you run the numbers on this, our cost is about 1.2 million, and it's going to be worth about 2 million, right? So that's like 60% of all in cost, right? Which is, for an apartment deal, especially like a screaming deal. Okay, like it's very rare. I'm sure they're out there, but you're probably not gonna find it in most good, decent markets, you know, that are like Kansas City, you know, B class and above. You might find it in some lower end neighborhoods around here, which if you find those opportunities, you know, you may pursue them. Like I would, you know, do your due diligence, but that may be a good starting point, right? But very good deal on the front end. We did it. Looks good. Then he's like, you know, hey, at this point we're like, hey, we want to buy this, we want to buy it, you know, and he's like, well, and we're like, oh, we're worried he's getting cold feet, and he's like, okay, I found a property that I want to buy. I want you guys to just pay cash, right? Just cash me out, no creative finance. We're like, okay, no problem, you know. And again, got to buy it for $1 million basically. And so we're like, we like it. We've underwritten it. We know the rehabs. We've seen the whole property. And then so the other big thing about this property is that he was paying the water bill for the entire property, which is a big area that you can usually add value to a property. Because if you guys don't know, you know, apartment complexes and is what's called commercial property, and it is 100% valued based on the net operating income that it brings in. It's just like a business, guys. Like if it's not, you know, profit, basically all the income before you pay the mortgage is called the NOI, a net operating income. And so he's making about $600 a month on average per unit, right? But he has like this crazy private water system that is charging him $200 per month per unit for water, when the city is like at like $60 a month per water for the same unit, right? And he says like, oh, I've tried to, you know, get it changed and all that. So I'm like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, you probably haven't tried hard enough. You know, like I bet I can get this bill lowered, or I can get it moved over to the tenants or something, right? And that's right there, that's $200 a month in bottom line income. Just literally doing nothing but moving the utility expense, $200 a month. And that's what most apartment investors are looking for, is that $200 a month raise. Because $200 a month times 32 units times 7 cap is $1 million in value. And so that's a huge deal. So on top of that, the rents are low, which we can move those up another $200 a month. So there's your $400 improvement. What we do is, he's like, okay, I want to do the deal. So we're like, let's do the deal. So he's like, I need $30,000 non-refundable earnest money. Non-refundable, $30,000. So I'm like, no problem. Because I got a great deal, right? We got a great deal here, and he wants a lot of earnest money. That's like, you know, 3%, which is more than usual. But I'm like, I don't care, you know, like we're gonna figure this deal out. Like this is a good deal. I will figure this out. So we have 60 days to close. I put the money down, right? 30 grand. I'm in this deal now. You know, we're in it. Like I'm either gonna get it closed or we're out $30,000 bucks, right? Now I got a fire under my butt to get this deal done. I'm stand to lose if we don't get this deal done, you know? So I'm hustling. So we got a 60-day close, which is pretty customary for most commercial transactions, just because you need that usually to raise the money as well as to get the bank figured out. And a lot of the activity doesn't really happen until you actually get a contract in place, right? So like, you know, day one, I'm like, oh my gosh, we got to get financing. We got to get money for this thing, right? And so like, you know, how are we going to close this thing? So we had a little money, but you know, we didn't have the 200,000 or 300,000 liquid to put down on this property, right? So the first thing we got to figure out, and this is with any real estate, is this is the order of operations. It's a deal, then you figure out the debt, and then you figure out the equity. Okay, so the debt is like the bank financing, or whoever is going to finance it, and the equity is the money that you're bringing to close. That's your own money, partner money, syndication money, whatever money. You know, that's the equity component of the deal. And so the first thing we had to do was figure out the debt, because even if we wanted to bring on a partner on this deal, if you were to present this deal to a partner and you don't have the debt figured out, they don't really have anything to look at because they don't know how much they're going to bring, they don't know what the debt's going to cost, anything like that, right? So you got to figure that out first. So what do? Well, we drive down to Sedalia and we go and visit with every single bank in the town in one day. And we made up a nice packet. We made the deal up with all the underwriting. This is key, guys. It's presentation is everything, especially with the banks and any kind of lenders. Is like, if they're going to give you, you know, 700, 800 grand, you know, you better have your ducks in a row, right? So we put together our, you know, thankfully, me and Austin both have good credit. We've never missed a payment. You know, we have a good balance sheet already and things like that. But we put that all, updated it all, put the deal together. You know, you want to tell the story, right? Like, what are any kind of banker or partner is going to be like, hey, what's your guys' plan for this deal, right? And with the house flip, it's easy. You know, it's just almost self-explanatory. It's like, oh, we're going to buy it and put 50,000 renovations in it. It's going to be worth, you know, $250,000. Simple, right? But with a multifamily, you know, it's quite a bit more operationally intense. You're doing 26 renovation projects. You've got to get tenants. You got to manage those tenants. So a lot of people, they're going to want experience. They're going to want you to already have rentals that you're managing. All this stuff. So, you know, you've got to really come off as, and, you know, hopefully know what you're doing or find something that does, but you've got to present this and explain in brutal detail exactly what you're going to do, how much money you're going to spend to invest into the property, buy it, and take it to the value that you want to get to, right? So we wrote that up all nice, and we went and met with a bunch of different banks. It was like 6 or 8 banks, and one day we emailed it all out to them. I found them all, sent the packet out. I'm like, hey, when can we get a meeting? You know, I've got this deal. We got to get the ball rolling here. You know, I need to get this locked in as quickly as possible. So we met with a bunch. We found a good bank. It's called the Missouri Bank, really great in Sedalia. You know, we talked to the other people. They were kind of like, meh. You know, they just weren't that interested. You know, but like in that one day, you know, we probably got like 5 no's. You know, 5 banks were like, nah, you know, you don't have your taxes done, or, you know, meh, whatever reason, like, you know, we don't do this kind of deal. And it's just like, okay, you know, that's fine. You just got to keep pushing until you find that one person that will do the deal with you. So we found a bank, right? They were like, hey, we want an 80% LTV loan. So that means we're only gonna have to bring 20%. You know, they would even potentially do a construction loan on top of that, right? And that's because, you know, that's like unheard of right now, guys. Like, you're not gonna, most apartment deals, you're not gonna get 80% LTV financing, especially when it's like, it didn't cash flow, you know, on the current numbers because the rents were so low, right? But, you know, that's why it's so key to you have to explain the business plan, right? We're not looking at a day one, buy it and hold it. You're looking at a 24-month, we're going to go in there, we're going to clean up the units, we're going to raise the rent, clean up the tenants, you know, turn over these utilities. This is going to be, you know, a 6, 12, 18-month process to increase it's a renovation, it's a rehab project. You know, it's just like you go to the hard money lender, you know, and you're like, hey, this is a temporary deal, and then we're going to stabilize it, and then it's going to be, we can get into different kind of financing, right? And so explaining that, he's like all on board. He's like, okay, I get it. You know, this guy is like the most, I don't know how to describe it, like can-do, active banker I've ever met. Like, no offense to bankers, but most of them I found, they just sit behind the desk, you know, and they're just like not into it. But this guy's like, I talked to him for 20 minutes and he gets up and he's like, let's go to the property. I'm like, now? He's like, yeah, let's go. So we go out there, come back, and he's like, I like it, let's do it. I was like, great. So we got our yes. Now we got the financing in place. We got the loan, okay? So now we got a loan ready to go. We got the terms 8% interest on this loan, interest only for like 2 or 3 years. And that would give us plenty of time to get the income up so we can, get into a different debt product later on. We got to figure out where the money's going to come from. How are we going to pay for this thing? So with that debt product, now we know how much money we need. We need about 200 grand to get this deal done, right? And so at the time, I think we had about 100 grand. We were halfway there, right? We could probably, and we were debating do we want to sell off some of our rentals or do we want to bring on a partner, And we kind of went back and forth. We talked to some of our close friends. They weren't really interested in partnering on the deal. So we're like, well, I guess we'll just sell off some of our rentals and that way we can get the money to put down on this property, right? Again, clock's ticking. Tick-tock, like 30 grand we're going to lose if we don't get this deal done, right? So we put a few of our properties on the market to sell, right? Now 2 of them, they go pretty quick. But again, guys, so we're chugging down the line. We got a lot of stuff figured out in like the first week. But we're going down, these properties aren't selling quickly, and we realize, hey, we're not going to have enough money to get this deal done, and we have to either borrow from somebody or I don't know what we're going to do. We don't know what we're going to do, right? That's what I'm saying. These insurmountable challenges, we're at a point where the houses aren't going to sell fast enough. We need this much money to close. What do we do? So, at this point we could have just caved. We could have given up, but I was like, that was an option. We considered even wholesaling the deal. We knew it was a good enough deal. We could probably wholesale it to an end buyer, right? You can wholesale apartments. It's a little bit more tricky, but and we thought we probably could make $50,000, wholesaling, which is real respectable. But I'm looking at this deal, I'm like, dude, we can make like 700 grand on this deal, over the life of the project. We are going to figure this out, right? It's not just about the money, it's about the experience. It's about putting this project under our belt. So that way when I go to the next owner and the next 50 unit or 100 unit deal, I can say, hey, we did this deal and it went really great. You should sell or finance us this next deal. That's what I was thinking the whole time. I'm like, this isn't this long-term thinking. I wasn't thinking about the money today. I was thinking about the next deal in a year. What I'm going to talk to that guy about when I'm having the conversation again, right? And so I was like, we're going to get this done come hell or high water. Have you guys ever been in that situation where you're like, I'm going to get it done no matter what? Raise your hand if you've ever been in that type of situation. There you go, a lot of you guys. And that's what you got to be. That's what you got to do. So I was like, pretty much at this point, I've exhausted all of my partners and people that I know and trust. There was one guy. His name's Brian. He's in Sedalia. We had actually brought the deal to him kind of before it really was anything. And he took a look at it and just really, I don't think he really looked at it that hard. He just kind of brushed it off, But, I came back to him and I'm like, hey, dude, and I sent him again the whole presentation we had done. And again, guys, doing this is a lot of work, figuring out all these numbers, scope of work, all this stuff, putting this all together is a lot of work. So we brought that whole thing to him and we're like, dude, this is a great deal. I can tell you're in Sedalia. It was almost a perfect partnership that he had the property management in town. He had construction in town. He had the money, he had money. So it's totally complimentary, it's in his backyard and he's buying stuff actively. We sent it to him, we sat down one evening and we hashed it out, and we worked it out. We did a 50-50 deal. So we put up half the money, he put up half the money. He's going to manage it. He's going to do the work it costs. We signed the agreement, everything in a night. It was 9 or 10 o'clock. Called him up. We figured this all out, right? So, bam, we're 3 weeks away. I got everything sorted. But I only had that relationship and I would not just go out and partner with any Joe Schmo you meet off the street. Just because they have the money or something like that doesn't necessarily mean they're a good partner. I'd lose $30,000 before I, get into a partnership where the guys just don't align with me or I can't get along with them, because you're going to lose a lot more later on in, money potentially or emotional well-being if you don't, make sure the people you're working with are of like mind, values, principles, they're ethical, especially if you're going to make significant financial investments with them. So we had actually done a deal recently. We'd spent some time together. I wholesaled him a deal. We talked a lot. So I was, comfortable with him. We'd gotten to know him enough where I was like, okay, I think, he's operating deals. He's a 10Xer. He's got a lot of similar outlook, mindset. He wants to grow. I'm like, okay, I think this will work. Obviously every deal is a gamble, right? Every partnership is a gamble. But I think, more than not, it's going to work out. Right. So we do that. And now we got it figured out, right? So we're good to close, I've got our money, he's got his money, and we closed it, after that, it was, we figured those parts out, got the terms figured out, which is a lot, but then we got it done. So we bought 26 units, guys, and we bought it for $950, and that was in about August of last year. But that deal took like 6 months to get closed, because there was literally like 4 months, 3 or 4 months where I was just, again, going down to Sedalia, meeting with the guy, nurturing the relationship. It wasn't like we had 2 coffee meetings and did this deal, guys. It was like 3 or 4 months of talking with this guy, pretty often and working it out and everything like that. But it was, that's what you got to do. I mean, it's a long game. You got to be willing to follow up and, nurture these relationships for a long time, and if you want to get these good deals, especially with sophisticated guys that, they may need, more attention. It's not like a quick, deal where you're just going to, transact, buy something, and that's it, right? But, put in that work over that 6 months to get that deal, totally nurtured into the finish line. So we're chugging along in the deal. We instantly start working on getting that water bill turned over. So this is the thing, guys, like once you buy a deal, like it's a ton of work, and then the real work begins. Like, cause you've gotta work on the deal. You've gotta make that thing, just because you bought the asset doesn't mean it's still worth whatever you paid for it day 2. You've gotta do the renovations, you gotta move over the tenants, turn them over, get higher paying tenants, raise those rents up, all these things that are going to make this property worth more money. And of course, we gotta hustle on this deal. The faster we get this done, the faster we're gonna make, $700,000 in return off this thing. And so we went to work, we got the water bills, and again, like I had talked to the neighbors, this guy, the seller, and he's like, oh, you can't do anything. He's like, again, the tired landlords, a lot of the times, like they're tired because they just they've tried, they probably haven't tried hard enough, but they don't want to deal with the problems. They don't want to, squeak the wheel hard enough to really get this done. And this was like a big problem for this guy. I mean, $200 times 26 units is like $5,000 a month times 12 months. This guy's spending $60,000 a year on water bills. That's like a salary, right? But even $60,000 wasn't like, he had his own business, he's well off. Even the $60,000 a year just wasn't enough money for him to really give it the attention it needed to fix that problem, right? And so we immediately took action and were able to fix the problem in like a month or 2. We literally we were calling this water company like multiple times a day, and to get them to, and of course they don't want to answer the phone. They're raking us, right? It's a monopoly, they're like the government, right? It's just like, where are you going to get water, So we had to get I think the state regulator involved to get them to call them to get this problem fixed, because they were not answering the phone, they were not helpful, but it's hey, the water is triple the market, city water, something is wrong. But you're dealing with a utility that's government chartered, that it's going to be very difficult, because if they just don't do anything, it's just status quo, and that's what the guy had been dealing with. Is very difficult. So we literally took out all the stops, and we're like, hey, we need to get these. The first thing we did before we lowered that bill was we turned it over to the tenants, and that instantly eliminated the expense. So meanwhile, we also got meters ordered to where we were sub-metering the whole property, because it was all in just one. It was unit by unit. Billing, but it was just flat billing for some reason with some crazy rate, right? And so we got that ordered, and instantly we added, $200 a month times 26 units in the first few months, 2 or 3 months, we added that value. So there you go. It's we just added hundreds of thousands of dollars in value to this property by now making the rents, $600 a month instead of $400 a month. So all the while we're renovating these units, cleaning them up, making them nice, and releasing them out to market rate tenants, which again, the rents were the market was about $800 instead of $600, so we were able to lease those units up to those higher rents pretty fast. So a couple months later, this particular property, it had 4 or 8 more units in the same area. He just didn't want to sell those at first because he didn't need the money to 1031 into this other deal. So a month or 2 later, he's like, hey, I got another deal. I want to sell these other 8 units. And we're like, great. But he comes at me and he's like, well, I sold you those other ones. I don't even know what I was thinking for the last 8 months, but now that you guys have done all this work and made the properties more valuable, I think these ones in the middle are worth more than the ones that I sold you because you guys have done such a great job doing all this work to, make more money with this thing. So we're like, how much? He's like, oh, I want, I think it was $5 or $550 or something for all 8 units, which is not terrible, but it's overpaying for the stuff, right? And so we worked him down, And we bought them for, I think it was like $56,000 a door. They were a little bit nicer, some of them, but it was still worth it, you know, to buy those other units. So we had a little bit more money, so it was easy. We already had the partnership. We already had the bank. So for those other 8 units, it was a simple conversation. It was like, hey bank, he's got 8 more. We're gonna do the exact same thing. Will you lend us the money? He's like, yeah, I'll lend you the money. Same terms. I'm like, great. You know, and then we already had the money. We had the cash ready to go from some other deals. So we bought the other 8. So now we got 34 units, and we did the same thing with them, right? You know, same business plan. And, you know, again, there's a lot of, you know, it's like simple when I'm just telling you guys exactly, you know, what happened, but like, you know, a lot of moving pieces involved with operating these properties. And that's what's gonna, you know, you'll learn if you do it, but like, you know, operating a rental, especially in a turnover environment where you have to, you know, lease a lot of stuff, you have to have multiple crews running, you know, like you're gonna need to be, if you wanna get this done quickly, you're gonna need to be on your A game. We bought those, and then, you know, pretty much right after we bought those, again, now the upside on this whole deal is like, it's gonna be worth probably about, you know, once we get it to market rent of today, you know, it'll probably be worth, we're all in cost should be around, you know, 1.7 million or so, 1.6 million, and it's probably gonna be worth about 2.7 million. So we're, you know, or I think all in cost might be a little bit lower than that. Is that right? Well, because we have equity, right? So our debt would be about 1.3, and then, you know, with our all-in costs, so we have about, you know, $1.2 million of equity profit at the completion of this project, right? So after we buy those, and this project could go the distance, like there's no reason that it shouldn't, right? But, you know, our partner was like, hey, I'm raising a bunch of money, I want to buy you guys out. So we're like, we don't really want to get bought out. You know, like it's, you know, we're really early in this, we want to ride it out, you know, we don't need the money right now. So he shot us the number, and we were like, nah, you know, it's too low. We want this number, which was like, you know, really pretty unreasonably high because we didn't really want to leave the deal. You know, we wanted to ride it out. And so, you know, we just went along, and, you know, a couple months ago, he's like, hey, I really want to buy you out. Let's get serious about it. And we're like, okay, you know, how much are you offering? So he lowballs us again, and we're like, nah, you know, we want this number up here. You know, he's like, okay, so what's it really going to take? So we get off the phone, we talk about it, we throw out another number, he throws out another number, like, that'll work. And that number was $450,000. You know, so our cost in the project was $140,000, and that's the money that we put up for the down payment. He was actually fronting all of the renovation costs and all the operating costs of the property, which was a pretty good deal for us. So he's like, I need 2 months to close, and I can, you know, cut you guys a $450,000 check, right? So we waited, you know, sitting on, you know, pins and needles. Like, I mean, not that worried, you know, I thought he was gonna do it, but you never know. You know, you're always, anything like that, especially the biggest deal you've ever done, right? It's just like, you know, can we get this done or not, right? So sure enough, you know, closing day, we get it all figured out. We get it closed down. That's how we made $450,000 on this deal, and, you know, $310,000 profit in 8 months. So it would have, you know, we probably would have done, if we would have rode out the length of the project, which is probably 24 to 36 months, you know, our equity would have been worth probably about 600, 700,000-ish if we would have, you know, sold that or refinanced that property. But guys, you know, it's like the saying goes, you know, 1 in the hand is better than 2 in the bush. Because, you know, with that money right now, we can take that money and we can flip, you know, 10 more houses at a time and make up a lot more money than that over that same time period. You know, so that's why we decided to go ahead and get out and take that money and reinvest it into more closer stuff like that. So that's how we did it, guys. You know, it was a lot of work, but guys, I mean, like, there's no reason that you guys couldn't do that yourself. Like, literally, I just took a course and started looking for that opportunity and just, you know, had enough meetings, and every single time, you know, everything was totally new. Like, I flipped a good amount of houses. You know, the base, kind of the things you do are similar, you know, between a house and an apartment. It's just on a bigger scale. You're dealing with bigger numbers, more operations. You know, it's more complex, and therefore it takes more time. You know, one thing about these deals is they're not fast. You know, any kind of where your apartment, it's a minimum, you know, 24 to 36 month commitment minimum, guys, to flip an apartment, just because you have to raise that income, you have to stabilize it and get it to where it's consistent, to where the other buyer that comes in after you, you know, they can see that you have a year of solid income, you know, on that property, so that they can get their loan to buy it at a higher price, right? So you're gonna make more money if you buy the right deal, but it's gonna take longer. So, you know, that's the trade-off between that and houses or something else like that. But it's a great deal, guys. And, you know, what I'll say is, you gotta just be looking for these opportunities and be ready to act on them. You know, get your stuff, start getting yourself in the position, like learn the knowledge, get the connections now, take advantage of the connections in this room. You know, like there's a lot of money sitting in this room. Like I know a lot of you guys are heavy hitters, you know, multi-millionaires sitting in this room. Like these are the guys that have the means and the experience to help you, you know, take these deals down. You know, there's you know, Kelby, Michael Mitchell, you know, Schmitty, you know, there's a lot of guys that have some means that can help you guys in here. Myself. Basically, we're going to be looking for another one, but I'll take some questions real quick before we go to the next thing. Yes, sir.
So I guess the whole thing was in Sedalia, right?
Yes, sir.
And so how was it? Do you live in Sedalia?
I do not. I live here.
How was it doing it out of town?
Yeah, so doing it out of town was a big challenge for us. So and that was one consideration with you know, if we bought this deal, yes, financially it makes sense, but do we want to have the time commitment to drive 3 hours round trip, you know, every other day to work on this property? Well, that was one of the reasons why we went ahead and partnered with Brian, is because he was going to do all of the operations, right? And he lived in Sedalia. So we almost never went down there. You know, we could do some stuff remotely, but really how this partnership worked was that we did basically all the front end work, the underwriting, we put the entire deal together, and he basically did all the back end work. So he did the operations, the leasing, all that kind of stuff. And that was the deal, you know. And it was all spelled out, and everyone was cool, you know. So that was a concern, and having that partner really saved us a lot of money in terms of the time and focus that we saved by not having to go down there and mess with it. Any more questions, guys? I know you got some more questions. Yes, sir.
What was the net operating income?
Yeah.
What do you figure out was when it was done?
It basically, so the gross rents were going to be about $800 a month average. For the operational costs, I don't know off the top of my head. So he was managing it basically at cost. I think he was managing it 5% for his management company he was charging. And then on top of that, you know, it was going to be, you know, your maintenance and stuff. So we had factored in like a $300,000 renovation budget for this property. So the first year expenses were going to really suck because we were going to be, you know, doing a lot of capital improvements. But, you know, you can kind of run some numbers. We typically take 10% off the top for your repairs and maintenance and stuff like that. And so that's really after, you know, and then there's also fees. So you're looking at, and there's averages you can find for what it's going to cost. Typically your operational cost on most apartment buildings is going to be 40 to 50% of whatever the gross income is. Okay. Now you can obviously do it a lot cheaper than that if you're doing it yourself or something like that, but when you're underwriting a property, it's going to depend on the area, but you're probably looking, you know, whatever the gross rent is, you can assume about 40 to 50% of that is going to be expense. So, and that's not including debt. So you have to NOI or net operating income is calculated before you make your mortgage payment because, you know, mortgages are variable. You know, you can get 30-year terms, I can get 20-year terms, right? So it's not a factor when valuing the real estate, if that makes sense. Yes, sir, in the back in the nice suit. What's that? So we came out of pocket $140,000. What was the other part? Yeah, so our equity was our own. So I have part of it was, so me and Austin basically contributed about half each. He had put 4 of his own properties on the market, houses, and he was able to get about 2 sold before we closed. So he had about 70,000-ish. And I had some of my own cash and I have a few lines of credit against my existing rental. So I have about 100,000 in lines of credit that I pulled from for this. So I technically financed my equity with debt from my other property, right? But that's how we came up with our 140,000, you know? So we, you know, and I know that's not, you know, tenable for some people to come up with that kind of money, but you can, you know, there were other things that we considered when doing this deal. We could have, you know, we could have done a hard money loan and bought this property. You know, they have hard money loans where you can put a lot less down, you know, 10% or something like that, or you could borrow the down payment from somebody. Now, you know, we were in a position where we could have done those things, you know, but it was going to be far more costly to do those things than to use the resources we had. But that doesn't mean that we couldn't have, if it was a question between, you know, getting the more expensive debt and not doing the deal, you know, we would have probably got the more expensive debt, right? Because there are loans and you can borrow money for the down payment or bring on a partner or something like that. I mean, you're going to take a very significant cut in your total, you know, profit you're going to make on the deal, and it's going to add more risk, but you can do those things to get the deal done, if that makes sense. Yes, sir.
So you guys just like buying lists and like cold calling those, or like how are you getting the leads that you're calling? I guess like what's been effective?
Yeah, so that one was, this particular deal I think was just like Zane literally would just, and I'm not lying about this, he goes on Zillow and virtually drives for dollars and literally just calls the owners of every absentee owner. And that's how he found this guy. You know, super crude, but it works. And it doesn't, you know, and in Sedalia, it's a different beast. You know, there's very few like buyers and wholesalers there, you know, because a lot of the stuff is hard. There's not a lot of value. So, you know, it's an easier time there for sure. But, you know, like for us personally right now, we pull a lot of our lists like from the county, like, you know, probates, foreclosures, divorce, eviction, all that kind of stuff. I have a team of virtual assistants that does that for me. You know, literally, I mean, the business of finding these sellers is super simple. You know, it's just like pull the data. Like literally, I have a list of basically 200 apartment owners that are like tired apartment owners. Like they've owned their property for 10 plus years. Like I just haven't even called them. You know what I mean? Like I haven't even taken action beyond this. But like the lists are relatively easy to get. You know, it's making the calls, knocking the doors, and following up, that's the hard part for sure. But yeah, I mean like this business, wholesaling or whatever, like conceptually it's very easy. Implementation is very hard. It's a learning curve, you know. It's like I don't know if you guys have played Counter-Strike or anything like that, but it's a game, but it's like a very easy to understand shooter game, but it's like the skill level is insane. You know, like there's guys in there that are like super good at this simple thing and they'll just destroy you all the time. But it's the same thing with this game, guys, for sure. Any more questions? I know you guys got more good questions, guys. I just did finish this deal so I could come here and tell you guys about it. Schmitty.
You have a challenge of getting rehab crews to work there. Do a lot of things.
So you're asking, did we have a challenge getting crews to do the rehab for us? So that was a big challenge before we brought on the Sedalia partner. So that was a big concern because, you know, we had not found a lot of crews down there, and, you know, most guys in Kansas City don't want to drive an hour and a half to go do work, right? So that was going to be a challenge, which again is why we brought on that tactical partner where he had his own construction company in Sedalia. He had his own guys full time to where it just solved the problem, you know? And that's one thing is, if you're going to do a partnership, make sure that on a cultural and value level they're aligned, but make sure they're bringing something that is a complement to what you have. You know, like me and Austin, like we've been, you know, full-time business partners for about 1.5 years and longer, you know, with our deal by deal, you know, basically about 2 or 3 years we've been working together, but that's because we have, you know, very good value, very good culture alignment, and we have very complementary skills. So like, I'm all about you know, I find the deals, I negotiate the deals, you know, I'm blue skies and like, let's do the deal. And he's like the, you know, hey, let's really underwrite this. Like he does the construction, the finance, you know, the back end, like actually gets the projects done, right? Like I'm really good at finding the stuff and working on the stuff, and he's really good at getting it across the finish line and making sure we don't buy bad deals. I would probably buy some questionable deals if left up to my own devices, you know? So I know enough now, I probably wouldn't, but definitely, you know, having that complementary person to, you know, be able to ping pong against, you know, that's why we're going the distance, and we'll probably continue to go the distance because, you know, we both don't want to do each other's jobs, you know, and each of us are pretty good at the job we're doing, right? Go ahead, sir.
I was just gonna ask, on your next deal that you end up doing, are there any lessons you're gonna that stand out in your mind that you're gonna try and avoid, or mistakes you made you want to try and avoid on the next one?
Yeah, so for this one, I mean, all in all, I really can't complain about how this one went. I think the biggest lesson that we learned from it, you know, it probably went as good as it possibly could. You know, we made a big score pretty fast, relatively, and you know, the only thing I would probably do differently next time, and you know, this is a personal preference, but I would probably not have another, you know, a partner that was responsible for operations. You know, we really put like we kind of like, and again, you know, this partnership worked out well, but like we basically took 140,000. We're like, hey, we'll see you in 3 years. You know, maybe, right? And so like, and we're not, you know, especially with this project, like we were separated from the action that would actually get the deal completed, right? So like, and so that was something like that we struggled with a bit to, you know, and there's a lot of trust there and stuff, but I think next time we would not bring on another operational partner, right? Because we have a really good operation. Like, I know I can lease stuff up really fast, and we can execute construction and things like that. So I would do that next time. I might bring on a money partner, somebody to finance it or something, but I would only really trust myself with actually operating it, because that's where you make or break your deal. I mean, you can literally take a good deal like that and like turn it into a shitter. If you like don't lease the units or whatever, like it can go downhill really quick, because you got $8-9 grand of mortgage payments you got to make every month. Like, that money's got to keep coming in, or you're going to be in a hole, really fast. More questions, guys. I need more questions. This is for me, not for you. I got to iron this presentation out. Yeah.
When you were originally thinking that you were going to hold it, what kind of cash flow would you think you ideally would get in a couple of years?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So that was the business plan originally. We were going to hold this property for about 7 years, 5 to 7 years, where we're going to hold it. And, we figured pretty conservatively on all of our stuff, and that's how we've been able to, by and large, every single one of our deals has been successful, because we're very conservative on how we buy, how we underwrite. I don't know, what were we planning on? It was like $60,000-$70,000 a year or something like that. 7-8 grand a month, yeah. So I mean, after once we got it stabilized, our half of the rental income would have been about $7,000 or $8,000 a month in our pocket, right? And again, that's on a $2.7 million property that we have about $1.5 million equity. So we had about $700,000 equity in this scenario, and we're making about $8,000 a month off that, which is pretty stout. But that was a 2-year out plan to get to those numbers, right? 18 months to 18 to 24 months to start achieving that kind of cash flow, which would be great. I mean, that's what ultimately our plan is to right now. And we did a lot of BRRRRs last year and the year before because of the interest rates were such that it made sense, and we wanted to build our own portfolio up. Like, ultimately, we want to have that cash flow, those rentals. We've transitioned recently to doing more wholesales, more flips, because this is especially doing off-market deals. Like, I have full-time acquisitions guys. We're starting to run $10,000-$15,000 a month in ads. Like, it is extremely capital intensive. You run out when you find, like, if you're finding good deals, like, if you don't have the money to buy them, you cannot do them. You can maybe wholesale them sometimes, but like a lot of the ones, especially like these creative ones, like, it becomes very difficult to do without your own money. So right now our big focus is like, and this has solved a lot of that, is building up a massive chunk of capital, flipping a bunch of houses to where we have $500,000, $1 million in cash at all times, where any deal that comes across our plate, whether it's a $100,000 home or a $700,000 home, we're going to be able to take that project down very confidently and run our operation, run our team, run our ads, all that stuff, so we can really have a very operationally effective business. Yes, sir.
So upon the sale, I mean, did you guys end up doing like a 1031, or what was the strategy there? Like, I know you said you ended up buying some more rentals or more flips. Sorry, but did you do that through a 1031, or did you just take the tax and pay the tax?
Yeah. So he asked what we did with the money. Did we do a 1031 or some kind of other tax strategy to avoid the taxes? So we did want to, kind of. So the problem is that we didn't actually sell the property. Okay, we just sold our interest in our LLC that owned the property, right? So we owned it. We have our own holding company. Our partner had a holding company. We created a new LLC for this property that we were both our companies were 50-50 owners in. So the actual sale, we just did it like a lawyer. It was just like, hey, you're paying $450 for the other 50% of this company. So it wasn't actually eligible. We didn't actually sell the property, so it was not eligible for any kind of 1031 or anything like that, which wasn't really an issue for us at this point, because again, the goal was not to trap the money in some other project. We wanted to keep that liquid. Yes, we're going to take probably a $100,000 tax hit on the money, but it made sense to do that to have that cash working for us. So that's what we opted to do on that one. And it sucks. One thing I've come to find, which there are tax advantages with real estate, but the government always going to get their cut no matter what, which sucks. But just what you got to deal with, just make more money. That'll solve your problems. Any more questions, guys? Well, guys, I want to wrap up real quick. Again, 3 takeaways, guys. Focus on your relationships with everybody, your potential partners, your sellers, your team members, your contractors, all this kind of stuff, guys. Our partner on this deal, the only other deal, we had wholesaled in one deal before this, and I talked with them a ton, guys, but that one deal was the benchmark. I made like nothing on that deal. I literally wholesaled that deal just so I could get it sold for the seller. I made like $1,000. You know, it was like nothing. But I did that deal to fulfill my commitment to the seller and to build a relationship with that buyer. And then sure enough, a month or two later, we do this, you know, $2 million deal together, right? So take care of your relationships, guys. Focus on the relationships. Take massive action all the time. Be willing to do whatever it takes. You know, you need to do a lot more than you think in order to get things done quickly and effectively, guys. The more options are always going to be better so that you're not stuck in something. And guys, find great deals, guys. Find really great deals, guys. I'm telling you, most of the deals that are out there are utter trash, unfortunately, guys. Like we bought one deal from a wholesaler just recently, but like I haven't bought a deal from a wholesaler other than that for like months or like a year, you know, because they're just like, it's just, I don't even know, like why lock it up, you know? So, which if you guys want to learn how to master off-market deals, come talk to me after the presentation, because I'll tell you how we found this one and all the other ones that we do on a weekly basis. So guys, with that, I want to give another shout out to our sponsors. If you guys need some of that hard money, Rex was considering financing us on this one, you know, on this apartment complex. He can potentially do $1 million deal like that. You know, we didn't want to pay the high hard money interest for it. You know, talk to him. Get these relationships, make these phone calls tomorrow, and that way when you have a deal, you know who you're going to use, you know their terms, you have all your numbers figured out and everything in place to where it's just a signature on the sheet is all you need. RD Title and Exchange, guys, when you get that file and you need to close it quick, close it with them. Kef, Elevate You, personal training, go talk to Kef right there if you guys want to take your physical health seriously. Guys, come talk to me if you want to get into this. We're going to start another program up. Brian's in it. That's here. Lautenschlager, if he hasn't left yet. A bunch of other people. We're going to be restarting this with Pat Grace, the off-market mastery mentorship. I'm going to be going into day by day. We have, you know, live cold calling that we do together, trainings that we do together, guys. You're going to get my experience plus a 20-plus year veteran in the field and flipping, wholesaling, 200 rentals that he owns. You're going to get a lot of stuff with that, guys. Thank you for your time, guys. Come talk to me afterwards and have a great evening. Thank you all.